It's amazing, isn't it? Here we are at that season, and it's time to pick out a holiday tie. I'm not sure which one to wear again this year. And so which tie, I know a lot of other people probably in your staff are thinking, how am I going to tie one on this holiday time? But that's talking about alcohol, and we'll get to that. I'm Greg Bader, and I want to talk to you a few minutes about holiday parties, running a successful holiday party, running a party without problems, running a party so that you don't have to call Mala or you don't have to call my office to get yourself out of a problem or worry about something that may have happened. So running a good holiday party, what are some helpful hints that I can provide you with? Well, let's break it down into 3 areas. Obviously, preparation is the most important. Preparing for a successful holiday party is step 1. Then there's conducting the party, and then there are some steps that you can take after the party is over. Well, let's talk about planning a party. First, should attendance at the party be required? Should it be voluntary or should it be involuntary? Well, here are the pros and cons. I would say it should be involuntary if clients are going to be present and you know that those clients are going to require some care services. Then obviously those staff people need to attend the holiday party. And here's the axiom. If staff work, staff get paid. But when you have staff work longer hours, many of those staff may be paid overtime. So you have to be careful. If you're going to have staff, fine. If you're going to have staff and they're working longer hours, they may have to be paid overtime. And if those staff show up at a holiday party, you can impose rules on them too, like a wicked rule of no drinking while you're at that party. It may be different rules that you have for those staff attending the clients than for all other staff who are attending the party. When you plan a party, there are a lot of things you need to plan. Let's first ask a couple of questions. And the first question is, should attendance at the holiday party be mandatory? Should you require employees to be present, or should you leave it up to them whether they're present or not? I think it falls into 2 categories, and it breaks down this way. If you're going to have your clients, the residents, at the holiday party, well, then some staff will be required to be present because you'll have to care for those clients. So there will be regular staff duties that they're attending to with those clients. Now, when staff are present and they're working, there's the axiom. When you work, you get paid. So you will have to pay those employees. Now, when people work longer hours beyond their shift, extra duties, then you have to consider, is overtime being called into question? And that's the other axiom. If people work longer hours and it's overtime, then you have to pay them overtime compensation. Those workers who are on duty at the holiday party can have different restrictions than the other workers who are attending voluntarily. What type of restrictions? Well, you can impose a restriction that they can't drink at all. You can impose a restriction that they have to be near and dear to the clients. All the customary things that occur in a home. So, if you're going to have clients, you will have some staff who are required to be present at the party. My preference, though, is that when you have a holiday party, you make the attendance at the holiday party voluntary. Staff can show up if they want to. Staff don't have to show up if they want to. Generally, it's a big mistake for an employee not to show up at a holiday party for at least 30 minutes, but that's a whole nother podcast that we can talk about that item. So staff should be encouraged to come, but it's voluntary if they do come. Now, what's the benefit of that? Well, when it's voluntary when they come, then your liability is decreased. They're the ones who are going to be drinking if they partake in drinking, and it will be their act of drinking at the party, maybe to excess, that creates their own liability. So it eases you on liability concerns. The other thing that I think that it does is it increases the fun for staff. It increases their appreciation that they're going to give to you, and you're accommodating to their schedule. So that answers the first question. Should you require attendance? Require it if clients are present. Otherwise, make it voluntary. A next question. When should the party be held? Should it be during the day or should it be during the night? Preferably, a daytime party will have fewer problems. People just won't goof off as much. It'll be a little bit less of a free time party atmosphere if it's done during the day. You'll have more control over the proceeding. Should the party be held on a weekday or on a weeknight? My preference is to have it on a weekday. If you have it on a weekend night, well, a weekend night may interfere with personal plans that people have. I know it's the more traditional time for a holiday party, but you've got to understand, as we all do, that there's a number of holiday parties that people have for families and churches and social groups on the weekends, so why interfere with that? Have the party on a weekday night. And there's a bonus. When you have it on a weekday night, people have to show up to work the next day. They generally don't. They're generally more behaved at that holiday party during the week. Now here's another consideration that you should have. Should spouses and guests be invited? Well, the cardinal rule I would say is make sure everybody knows, whatever the rule is. If spouses and guests are invited, make sure it's spelled out clearly so there's no mistake on that. The pros and cons. If spouses and guests show up, typically employees will behave better. There'll be less drinking, there'll be less lampshades on heads, there'll be less, silliness along those lines. You still want to have some silliness, but the really bizarre behavior usually is cut down if they do attend. Now, obviously, you have to take a look at the costs and the tone and the tenor and the atmosphere that you want to create at a holiday party. So sometimes you may not want to have spouses and family members and clients and customers and guests present as well. Now, so we've talked about a few things. Where should the party be held is another question. Should you have it at a home? Should you have it at your facility? I say generally no. I think you should hold the party at some third-party location, a restaurant, a hall, or be more unusual and more creative. Hold it at an art gallery, a local museum, a train station, something memorable that will give your staff something to talk about during the holiday season with their family members. And it doesn't cost you anything extra when you hold it at one of those functions or one of those places. The other benefit is those places usually have their own staff. So if you are going to serve alcohol, and we'll talk about alcohol, then there are other people and other insurance policies that are responsible and liable, and it takes a little bit of the pressure off of you. So find a memorable place that it can be held, generally off-site. Should you have music, dancing, entertainment? Yes, that's my answer, yes. Why? Well, if you are going to serve alcohol, which we'll talk about in a minute, dancing, entertainment, activities take time away from straight boozing and shots and things that can get people in trouble. Dancing burns off that energy. Dancing, activities, entertainment also create a binder of your staff because, although they work together, they may not know how to socialize together, so you can give them a common activity that they can share. So I'm all in favor of having some kind of activity, and it doesn't have to be expensive. Local groups, maybe even a choral group in one of the group homes, or a high school group, or a local performer, very inexpensive services that they can provide, or have a contest and have people bring their songs on their iPods and have some type of DJ program for yourself.